Hello there, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're going to, of course, have this great webinar on smart importing for Revit, and I can tell by the many hundreds of people that signed up today that this is definitely a challenge that many of you are facing. You, of course, go to import Microsoft Word, or you go to import an Excel spreadsheet, and you expect it to come in the way it was originally formatted, and of course it goes terribly wrong. So we're going to get a great demonstration today on how to bring both Microsoft Word docs and Excel spreadsheets into Revit as it stands with just regular Revit, and then we're going to share with you this amazing tool that's going to give you the results that you actually want. Now, this broadcast is sponsored by Axiom, and in just a second, I'm going to turn it over to them to talk a little bit about their company and of course, this great tool that we're going to get a chance to see. But before I go too far, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have questions as we go, of course, go ahead and put those questions in the chat box. We have people that are going to answer those questions for you as we go, or we might save your question for the very end to ask live to our amazing presenter. All right, and in addition to that, we have two handouts for you. If you want this PowerPoint, you can download this PowerPoint, and it has a lot of great information in it, and an additional handout out there for you as well. All right, so there's my housekeeping. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and I want to turn it over to Paul Kuva. He's the Executive Vice President of Axiom. He is responsible for all aspects of global corporate scale sales for channel management, business development, and demand generation for Revit, AutoCAD, and MicroStation software utilities at Axiom. And he brings the contemporary leadership skill to Axiom, and he also has a seat on the board of directors. He's very active in social media, has over 7,000 followers, and you can also see him at a bunch of professional conventions such as Autodesk University. I know a bunch of you go to Autodesk University. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to you, Paul.
All right, and thank you for that introduction, Lynn. Once again, my company is Axiom, and if during the course of this webinar or in the future you may need anything from Axiom, I encourage you to reach out to me directly. I will listen to you and will be certain to assign the right resources to help you navigate any project that you may have. Today's webinar is Smart Importing for Revit. The purpose of this webinar is to share how architects, engineers, and CAD and BIM professionals from around the world are importing Word and Excel documents into Revit while preserving all of the original formatting. In the meantime, I just want to take a second to tell you a little bit about Axiom. So Axiom, we've been in business for 30 years, and we have done a darn good job at it. We've listened to design professionals, and we understand your pain points, and we've taken many of those pain points and developed software utilities to help you navigate Revit, AutoCAD, and MicroStation. Thus said, we eliminate the worst parts of your design job, no matter what industry you are in. And today we are specifically talking about one of our tools, which is called Microsoft Office Importer for Revit. Well, Axiom has developed Office Importer technology since 1996, originally designed for MicroStation professionals. And we have taken all of that aggregate data and moved it over into Microsoft Office Importer for AutoCAD. And like I said earlier, Axiom engages our professionals, and at Autodesk University, we asked a lot of Revit users, hey, what can we do for you? And we discovered that they said, can you please make that great tool for AutoCAD that brings in the Word and Excel documents with perfect formatting? I said, sure, that's called Microsoft Office Importer. They said, yeah, could you make that for Revit? So I went back to my design team and we produced it, and it is one of the best things that Revit users are using, and they're enjoying it. And as a matter of fact, I have a wall of unsolicited, accolades from users, and I get reports, I would say almost weekly, that they're really pleased with using it. The typical client at Axiom ranges anywhere from a single consultant to small shops to government agencies to Fortune firms. and everywhere in between. Typical project scope or buildings to the level of national assets, railways, roadways, tunnels, bridges, water treatment facilities, oil refineries, and the like. So I really think you're going to enjoy everything you see today, and I think you're going to find it time well spent. Now, for those of you who don't know, and typically Lynn doesn't need any introduction, but just in case you're not familiar with Lynn, Lynn has hosted Autodesk University for over 10 years. She has over 500 training videos online, has authored 3 books on AutoCAD, and has over 20,000 social media followers. She is actively engaged in the technology and design community. I think you're going to enjoy a wonderful day today and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. What a great intro. I appreciate that. So let's get to the good part, right? So I'm excited to introduce to you Frederick Keniston, who is actually known as the Oracle at Axiom. He earns it. This guy has done, we're in great hands today, let me tell you, because he has delivered over 2,500 live training or demos in his very long 25-year career. So he's the director of technical and quality assurance divisions at Axiom, and he's going to do a great job for us today. I know you're all looking forward to it. He's a pro.
He's quite a pro, Lynn, I would agree.
Thank you very much.
The bar is high. The bar's high, Frederick.
Thank you very much, Lynn,
We
for
should
the
have started by saying we should have said you're no good, and then it would have all been up from there.
Bar high, that's what I say. All right, so you guys, thanks very much for attending, and I'm going to show you, here, let me get my screen shared here for you. And all right, so I'm going to show you some ways to import Word and Excel files or portions of them into Revit using Revit's own tools. And in fact, I'm using Revit 2020 right now. And one of the ways that I've been dealing with importing Microsoft Word and Excel files here for a while in MicroStation, AutoCAD, and then more recently in Revit. And here's some of the things I know from talking with Revit users that they've done to be able to try to get Word and Excel data into a Revit project file. So one of the first things they'll do or try is you, from the Insert tab here, or I'm sorry, from Annotate, go to Text and enter insertion point, and then go to a Word file like I've got here and grab a swatch of it. I'll even grab all the way through this table data. It's got a bunch of different formatting in it, bullets and numbered paragraphs, etc. When I go back, I'll zoom in a touch and I'll paste that data, and then I'll zoom out and show you the formatting that comes through, which is not much. So you notice I lost my fonts for one thing, and most of the other formatting I lost, and I didn't even get my table data. When I open my Word file here and kind of display the formatting on the side, you'll see that the supported Word document formatting here and the spacing for paragraphs, if I get this data in this fashion, I can click into the text here, and I can add spaces for the paragraphs and reformat it a bit. And I could even, through Revit's interface, change the font that's being used and things like that. But it loses a good portion, and in fact, a lot of the formatting. So it's not ideal, but it does give you a way of getting some data, at least from Word, into a Revit project file if you need to do that. Now, that's Word. Now, if I needed to do the same thing for Excel, I don't really have an easy way to do that. I can't do it using this particular method. For example, if I select this and just delete it here, if I go back and set another insertion point, and then I open an Excel file and copy a section of it, copy it, and then I go back, when I paste it now or try to paste, Control V or right click, notice paste, it does nothing. So this particular method works for getting at least basics of Word data into a Revit project file, but it doesn't work at all for Excel data. So that's one method. Now, Other methods that are one that's very common that I hear about a lot, and when I talk to people about it, they groan a bit, and that is using a DWG file where you place a table for Excel data, for example, as a table into an AutoCAD file, and then you use a CAD link from insert link CAD here to grab that data and then paste it or insert it into the Revit project file. Now, this particular spreadsheet, I did paste that section into a DWG file and inserted it with the CAD link. And you'll notice the formatting of the text, and it's kind of grainy, and I've also lost some of the border lines here in the lower right. And when I go back to the file that originally came from, you'll see that near the bottom here, it lost border lines. So it does lose some of the formatting, and the colors are off, and I don't get my colored text and things like that. But it is another way that you can bring in data, and that's very common, to bring in Excel type data into a Revit project file. And again, when I show people the method that I'm going to show you here in a little bit related to doing this, the amount of groans I hear over using the link CAD to a DWG file to bring this data in are very loud. So that's another way. Now, with Revit 2020, they added a method. If you go back to the Insert tab here, you'll see here there's a PDF now. So I can insert a PDF file into a Revit 2020 file now, or project file now, and it's very easy to use. And in fact, this is a sample of one thing. I took one of my Word sample files and just pasted the first page into this particular sheet. Just to give you an example of what it looks like, the formatting comes in exactly as you would see in the Word file that I saved out to the PDF file. The only problem is that it leaves you kind of limited as far as what you can do with it. For example, when I first pasted it in, I'll just grab a corner here and resize it. It came in at this size, so I had to drag it, grab the corner and drag it to resize it here. And that may work for one particular page, but you'll also notice the way my Word file is set up and now the resulting PDF file that I inserted is there's quite a bit of margin here. So the text doesn't really fit into this particular sheet that I've got. And if I had a bunch of pages of, let's say, specs or something like that I wanted to output to a PDF file and then insert, I might have to go back to my Word file, adjust my margins, adjust some of the other formatting for the paragraphs and things like that, save out the PDF file, and then come back and relink that. Now, I'm going to show you how to do that here. If I go back to, or if I go to a new sheet here, I'll just click PDF, and then I'll grab my general notes here, click Open. Notice it opens this Import PDF dialog box. Now, in the earlier versions of Revit, like 2019, what people would do with PDF is they would turn it into like a raster image, and then they'd attach or link that raster image in. But now, what happens is, in fact, I'll go back here. When I click PDF, you notice it says import image. And then once I select the PDF file itself and click open, it then changes to an import PDF dialog box. Now from here, you see this PDF file is 4 pages, and it shows each one of the individual pages here, but I can toggle this and it'll just show me the one page that's listed here. I can insert a number and it would show me another page there. And then whichever page I want to insert, I'll go back to number 1 here, and I can adjust the DPI to make it as the resolution as high as I need to or as low, depending on what I've got there and what data I'm trying to show, and click OK. And now notice I've got this insertion bar here. I click once, and again, this is related to what I was showing you related to size. So with this size, let me adjust it here. I can grab the corner and pull on it and adjust it. But again, with the margins and other things, I may have to go back and adjust the Word file, re-output the PDF, and then link the new PDF in to get the text in a way in the PDF file that's better for the view that I'm using as far as in a sheet or whatever other view that I'm linking this into. Now, another thing related to PDFs is this, that it will not hit your project standards exclusively or specifically. You can set fonts that are used and things like that as far as what would match the fonts that you're using in the Revit project file. But other than setting the font, other things you're not going to be able to set and mess with as far as what the project standards are or might be. Now, one thing I'll point out here too is under floor plans, when I go to level 1 here, when it comes to importing PDF files with just Linework as opposed to AutoCAD or Word files or Excel files, is the Linework comes in very nice from inserting a PDF file. And I took this drawing and saved it out as a PDF and then linked it using the same option I showed you. And you see that it comes in very nice. And for line work like that, it works well. Again, it might work for Word and Excel data, but it would require some futzing with the formatting, and you're still going to lose some of the formatting in any case. So those are the ways, the main ways that people can now grab Word and Excel data and import them into a Revit project file. And now I'm going to shift gears here a bit, and I'm going to show you a much easier way, and a way that's going to make what I just showed you look like, why have we been doing it all these other ways here all this long? And that is with an Axiom program here. I'll click this Axiom tab or ribbon panel, and this in the upper left that you see when I put my cursor over these buttons is our Microsoft Office Importer program for Revit. And this tool gives you the ability to import Word and Excel files or portions of them into different areas of a Revit project file with very exact formatting. And it has a bunch of other features, one of which is kind of magical, which I'll show you in a little bit. So first I'm going to go out to my Word file here, and I'm going to grab a section of it. I'll just, to start with, I'll grab a small section, do a copy, go back to my Revit project file, and in a sheet here, I'll click paste. It analyzes the information and it turns it into Revit objects. And when I zoom in, you'll see the formatting. Now, when I put the Word file right next to it, you'll see that that formatting, before I pull it to the top here, is very exact as far as what's pasted from what I started with. Now, this information is Revit objects. When I click on the paste, you'll see that it's a detail group, and it's text notes in a detail group. Now, because it is Revit objects, I can give this project file to anyone, and if I do not include the source file that this paste came from, it doesn't matter. The person that I give the Revit project files to is going to see the exact same pasted data. And they're not going to get any odd link errors or anything like that if I do not include the source file with the project file. However, it is linked back to the source file, but only through Microsoft Office Importer. So with that, what I'm going to do is go back to another sheet here, and I'm going to paste, in this case, and a portion of an Excel file. I'll just highlight what I want, do a copy. And again, I won't be able to do this or grab this data and just do an insert with using the text insertion point for Excel, but I can easily paste Excel data into a Revit project file with this program. I click the paste button, it analyzes the data, again, turns it into Revit objects. More on that in a moment for Excel. Click finish, and when I zoom in, there's the formatting. Now, the difference between Word and Excel when we paste into a sheet is this. When I go to settings, under pasting, you'll see that for Excel, it pastes Excel files by default as a schedule. So it's a standalone schedule in this point. And that's just because it's the fastest way of getting data into a sheet with Excel using Microsoft Office Importer. I have the option, though, of also pasting the data as text notes and lines. Now, just a word related to both Excel and Word is when I paste them outside of a sheet, they're always going to paste as text notes, and if there's lines, as lines. More on that in a little bit. So now with this data, what can you do with it? Well, if you want to make changes to the source file or anything like that, you go to this Manage Link button, and then from here, you can click Edit Source. It will find the source file, highlight the exact pasted area, and from here, I could make some changes. I'll make a couple of obvious changes. I'll change the color of this text on top. And then here, I'll change the data in this cell. I'll save the file because it deals with the file as it's written to disk. And when I go back, I'll click Update. And based on the changes I made in the source file, it updates the paste accordingly. Now, this dialog box gives you a couple other things, which I'll point out. One is this is the name of the source file. If that file name is changed, or if that file is moved on disk, you can click this select button here, navigate out and pick it up again. It'll reset the link to the file. You'll also see that it's got an option here to update automatically when the project opens. In the Revit version of Microsoft Office Importer, the default is to prompt you before doing any updates to paste that are set to automatically update. So you open the project file, it checks the source files, checks the exact pasted areas. If it sees changes, it prompts you and says, do you want to update the paste, yes or no? And you answer accordingly. You have the ability to modify that behavior a bit through the settings, which I'll show you in a little while. And then you see here for Excel attributes, top left cell, bottom right cell. This is for instances like this. Notice that my last column here on the right is the concrete curb and gutter column. If I edit my source file now, and I go here and insert a new column, save the file, when I go back and update the paste, it's going to push that last column outside of what was the original pasted area. Notice that it's now gone. So with these fields, I can adjust the scope of the paste on the fly and then click apply, and it will pick up not only the new data, but the data that was part of the paste initially as well. So that's the ability to paste into a Word or paste Word or Excel files into a sheet. Now, I can also paste into other areas of a Revit project file. And the areas that I'm going to show you were all based on feedback that we got from prospects and customers that wanted to be able to use this functionality in other areas of a Revit project file. So I can also paste into a drafting view. And again, it works the same. I'll just remove that one column here I added here earlier, highlight a section of it, do a copy, and when I click paste, in this case, because I'm not pasting in a sheet, it's going to paste this data as text, notes, and lines. And in this case, it's going to be a detail group, not a schedule like it was by default in a sheet. So this is text, notes, and lines, and this will update based on changes I make in the source file as well. And one thing I wanted to point out is that we can automatically update in Revit if you add new rows or columns as well. So if you insert new rows or columns, it can also automatically update related to that as well. So that's a drafting view. I can also paste into legends, and it works the same way. And I just added some reference planes just to guide the placement here. And notice the formatting, it's text, notes, and lines. And this works the same way as far as I can click the Manage button, click Edit Source, it'll find the source file. I can make changes, and then based on the changes made, it'll update the paste in a legend as well. One of the reasons we added this for a legend is because one prospect told us, he said, look, if I could paste something into a legend, it's one of the few objects that you can link to any number of sheets. And so I could do a paste in a legend and then link it to any number of sheets I want. And then whenever I want to update the legend data, all I do is use Microsoft Office Importer to update the paste in the legend, and it's updated in whatever sheet it's linked to. All right, so that's some of the areas. Now I have a little special drafting view set up to show you some of the other areas that Microsoft Office Importer Revit can also import into in a Revit project file. That's sheets, drafting views, legends, which I covered, and then also floor plans, area plans, ceiling plans, and engineering plans as well. In fact, a number of these were added fairly recently based, again, upon feedback that we got back from prospects and customers as well. So that's the basics of the program as far as up through manage link. And now I'm going to go into the list of links dialog box here. This dialog box shows you any Microsoft Office Importer link that's in this current project file. If I double click on a link here, it will take me to that particular paste, so I don't have to go looking around for it. And then from here, I can also do things like manage that particular paste by clicking the Manage button. I can edit the source file by clicking Edit Source. It'll open the source file, and I can edit it and then update it accordingly. Source folder will take me to the folder that the source file is located in if I need to go to that folder. Update, I can pick or choose one or more of these items, click Update, and it'll check all the source files all of the exact pasted areas, and based on the changes made in those, it will then update all of those pastes. And I can also delete paste with this button as well, which I'm going to grab some of these and do so to clean things up for the next major feature that I'm going to show you. And this is what I like to refer to as the magic part of the show. So I'll go to the settings here, and under settings, pasting, I have the ability to split paste into columns. And underneath here, you'll see that I also have the ability for Excel to repeat so many rows of header information that's copied over the top of each column that splits off. So I'm going to turn that off for now because I can apply that data on the fly, save my settings, and now I'll go back to my spreadsheet. I'm going to grab all of it, and this is probably about 4 pages of data or so. And then when I'll come here, I'll click paste. It'll take a little longer to analyze the data just because there's more. I click once, and now I'll click this button on the secondary dialog box to split the paste, and it gives me a representation of where the columns are going to fall. If I move up or down, it adjusts the height of the columns. If I move left or right, it adjusts the spacing between the columns. And then when I click the mouse a second time, it pastes the columns. And then from here, I can turn on repeat Excel header rows and click redraw, and it will, on the fly, copy the header information over the top of the column that's split off there. So I'll click finish, and when I zoom in, you'll see the formatting. So that's with Excel. And I can also do the same thing for Word, and I'll go to another sheet here, and I'll grab all of my Word file in this case, but I'll point out some formatting things in it for you. So you see there's a numbered, indented, numbered, and also bulleted, lettered paragraphs, some table data, super and subscript. So there's all sorts of different formatting going on in this particular Word file. So I'll grab all of it here, do a copy, go back, and I'll paste that information into my sheet, click once. It lays it all out in one column initially, but then I'll split it. And then again, it gives me a representation of where the columns are going to fall. And then with a second mouse click, it pastes the data. I click finish, and when I zoom in, you'll see the formatting. So there are my numbered, indented, numbered, and bulleted paragraphs, lettered paragraphs. And when I scroll up a bit too, you'll see there's the table data, the superscript, the subscript data, and the other formatting as well. Now, if this wasn't good enough, there's more. And the thing I'm going to show you was also something that was originated by a prospect of ours, eventually became a customer. And he had this scenario. He had a customer that required him to paste all of the specifications, which were in, at the time, a 128-page Word document, and make that data part of his project data in Sheets. So what he wanted to do is he wanted the ability to lay out the columns by creating like a template project file with sheets in that would have reference planes that could guide his placement of the columns. And then once he had copied all of that Word file, 128 pages, he would split the paste into columns on one sheet, and then he wanted to do this: grab columns that were split off, cut them, then go back to another sheet and paste those. And when we do this, it then acts like it's still one big paste. In other words, if an update was then made to the Word file in his particular case, and he needed to do an update of the paste to make sure that the project data reflected the changes in that specification Word file, then whatever sheets those columns were pasted to, they would then all update as part of one big paste. It's still linked to that one Word file, and it's all one big paste. And that link it's automatic. In other words, you don't have to do anything special to say make sure that these particular columns stay linked or anything like that. It's still automatically linked as one big paste. So that's split paste into columns. It's a very powerful feature. The ability to split the paste and then take these columns, cut them and paste them into sheets only works in Sheets currently. But there's possibility that we might look at being able to cut and paste similar things into other areas of the Revit project file too, like I described that's going on in Sheets. So that's the major features of the program. Now I'm going to go back to the settings and cover a couple of things here real quick. So under settings, the text by default, it uses the same fonts as the source document. That's going to get you the most exact match, but any font that's available to you in the Revit project file, you can paste with. It's just in order to get the most exact match, if you do select a default font, is then just make the Word or Excel font match that same font, and you get a very, very exact match. Under scale, this is a default scale factor, but most Revit users just bypass this and use this map feature. When I turn this on, you'll see that what you do is you tell it the point size of the text in Word or Excel, and you map it to each one to a specific Revit text size. For example, if you needed 10-point text to map to a Revit text size of 330 seconds, 330 seconds is very common, then you just edit it here. You just edit it there and then go and File, Save Settings. And when you do so, that saves that change in my currently loaded settings file, which you see the name here in my title bar of my settings dialog box. Then the next time I paste using this settings file, it's going to paste 10-point text specifically with a text size of 330 seconds in the Revit project file. And you can clear these out and you can edit it to make it accommodate whatever text sizes you need and to map those point sizes too. Another thing related to that is because of the different settings here, you can do this. You can go File, Save Settings As, and save a settings file out like with a project name or a client name so that you could have different settings files to accommodate different specifications that you are required for working on projects for different clients and on different projects. Then when you need a particular settings file in order to comply with those specifications, you go File, Load Settings, grab the appropriate settings file and load it, and then it will have those settings that were saved to it available for you to paste with. Under pasting, this is where you split paste into columns. Linking by default, the way the program was designed, it will link back to the source file and set it to update automatically when the project opens. Now, there are scenarios where in a workflow, it might make sense to just paste the data into the project file and then only maintain it within the project file. And there's maybe also about 5 or 10% of the users that at times use the program in the fashion that I'm going to describe, where you just use it to paste the data into your project file and maintain it only within the project file from then on. So here's what we'd have you do in that scenario. You go File, Save Settings As, and give the settings file an obvious name like unlinked, like I have here. Save that, and then turn the link off, save the settings. And now when I make any paste with this particular settings file loaded, it's just going to paste the data with the formatting that's set up through the settings file. And then from then on, I could just maintain that data inside the Revit project file, and it will then not be linked back to the source file where it might then inadvertently update based on a change made in the source file. So that's one way that you could do that sort of thing. Then when you're ready to use the program in the normal fashion that it was designed for, which is to link back to the source file, you go File, Load Settings, load the appropriate settings file, and then in this case, it'll be linked back when you make a paste from now on until you change the settings file or change that setting. Now, lastly, updating. So initially, I told you that when I looked at the Manage Link dialog box, that the paste is set automatically and by default to update by prompting you, and that's where this setting comes from, when you open the Revit project file. So you open the Revit project file, it looks at the source files, looks at the exact pasted areas, and says, hey, I found updates that could be changed. Do you want to make the changes, yes or no? You could also set it to where you want to update the modified automatic paste without asking. So in that case, it just won't prompt you at all. Or you could say, don't update any pastes that are set to automatic. In that case, you could still manually update them through the Manage Link dialog box or the List of Links dialog box as well, which I showed you earlier. So that's the program, and that is the smart importing for Revit webinar as far as what I had to show you here. So with that, I'm going to shift control of the screen over to Lynn again.
Okay, let me put myself back so you guys can see me. And I wanted to comment that Fred's very shy, and that's why we didn't get a chance to see. So, if you want to put comments in the question box saying that next time we want to see him, I think that would be fantastic.
I'll consider it. It depends on how many votes we get for that. How's that?
And I know that Frederick loves to do demos, so he did mention that if you're interested in if you have additional questions that you want him to demo for you, that he's happy to do that on a one-on-one basis. And then I also found out through all of this that he happens to be a composer, a self-taught fingerstyle guitarist, and a mandolinist, and he sings. So if you do decide to have him do a personal demo, you might also get a few songs thrown in. So it's like, doesn't get any better than that.
You were talking about the bar being high or low before.
Oh
now
my
you
God,
set it
it's
really,
so
really,
high.
really high.
So I'm going to shake this up just a little bit. I wanted to save questions to the end, but I wanted to ask you, Frederick, just a couple of great questions that came in because there was they wanted, I think it's relevant right now. So what versions of Revit do you support? I think that's a really good question.
Totally valid point. So it's Revit 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Awesome. Does it work with metric Revit projects?
Yes, it's as far as when I showed you the settings where you set the text sizes. So those settings, as far as the Revit text sizes, come from the Revit project file. So if you need to then map point sizes of text to metric Revit text sizes, that's what we'll display, and that's what you can totally set there. Yes.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask you one more, and then we're going to save the rest of the questions to the end. But I know that as an AutoCAD user, these are things that make me nervous.
Okay.
So if somebody renames or moves the spreadsheet or the document, I always think about XREFs, for example. What happens?
Well, in the Manage Link dialog box, the source field that I pointed out, it has the name of the source file there. So if that source file is moved or renamed, either way, you click the select button, and that opens up a navigation box where you can navigate out, pick up that file again. It'll reset the link to the file. So that data or that file name, as far as what it last was, is stored as part of the link. So when you first open that dialog box, it'll show you what at least the last file name was, and then you would have to know or have some idea where the file was moved to or what it was renamed to then navigate out and pick it up again. But then once you pick it up, it resets the link.
All right, and then if you send your Revit file to somebody and they don't have these tools, it doesn't matter, right?
Yes, actually, I guess I could have made that clear.
Not everybody has to have the tool.
That's right. Once you paste the data in, it's Revit objects. So, and at that point, you could give the Revit project file to anyone. They don't have to have Microsoft Office Importer for Revit at all. They're going to see what you pasted into the file. The only thing is they wouldn't, since they didn't have Microsoft Office Importer for Revit, they wouldn't be able to make changes to the paste based on using Microsoft Office Importer for Revit. But you having the programmer, if you did, then you'd be able to make changes and do updates and rename the source file and relink it, everything like I showed you in the demo.
Okay, great. It's like they're going to get a big blank sheet or something like that.
Right, exactly. So they're going to see what you pasted.
They're going to see exactly what you send them.
That's right.
Okay, fabulous. So oh my gosh, there's so many questions coming in. So we're going to address more questions at the end. But I want to just kind of finish off the main part of the presentation here. You saw this fabulous tool. I know you all want the tool because it's an amazing tool. So I'm going to turn the time back over to the amazing Paul. We can't see you, Paul. I want to see you, Paul. We only let Frederick get away with not being on camera.
I'm the opposite. I love being on the camera.
I don't like being on camera either. I'm with Frederick.
I do want to speak to one last point here, Lynn, and I see a lot of Revit users using this tool to kind of position themselves a little bit differently from the crowd per se. With this tool, it makes your designs a little bit more aesthetic. It makes things a little bit more friendly, and it could help some folks that are in the business of going out to bid on jobs, or folks that actually, I've had reports where they said, hey, we were independently reviewed by a third-party company, and we got a rave reviews because of just how things looked and how things were presented. So I really hope that you are enjoying the tool as much as the others and the feedback that I got. And I also want to just encourage you to just quickly, if you would, I would like to do a quick poll just to see how we could better serve you. So if you would, I'll leave it up for a little bit. If you could just fill out, as I know some folks may just be interested in a recording. I'll leave it up for a minute. Some folks might be interested in scheduling a live private one-on-one demonstration with Frederick, which he was so kind to extend to you. There are a variety of different project scopes and use cases that Frederick could address personal. And at Axiom, we have a really awesome culture around here. We've been helping design professionals from around the globe for 30 years, and we're glad to welcome you into our culture. We have special groups on LinkedIn that are invite only, so hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll be glad to get you into those groups. Also, if you just like a product information sheet or some more information, we could get that to you. If you'd like pricing, we could do that. And if you like all of the above, we're glad to accommodate. And I know the poll is in progress right now, and a lot of people are still using it. So we're gonna let it go until it kind of settles down.
There's no question up there about, do you want Frederick to sing you a song?
Frederick,
that would have been that would have been a good one to put on there.
We're going to do that next time, Lynn. We're going to say, would you like Frederick?
I think that would have won. I think that would have definitely won.
We got to get Frederick on mandolin next time. I think we're going to.
Obviously, we'd have to.
Frederick, would you agree? Frederick, would you agree right now?
I know.
If we had
your executive approval,
we had so many people sign up. Imagine.
I'm going to put that as a poll question next time, Frederick. And if we get over 50%, would you agree to do a mandolin?
I'm not agreeing to anything.
All right, that's probably long enough for that poll.
That's a classic Oracle response right there. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll. And I'd like just to share the results just for some fun. And
you want to see?
Yeah, we've got 30% of the attendees today. And at some point, I know we had about 190 attendees, I think, at max. And we have 30 people interested in 30% of people interested in pricing and all the above. So we know that there's a lot of pricing out there. If it takes us a day or so to get back to you, please, give us a little breathing room here, because we do have a lot of requests. But
I'm going to ask a couple more questions.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
No,
I had this one. This is my favorite one. This is from somebody who's in Berlin, who was willing to tune in, even though it's after work for them. What languages does it come in?
It's currently just English language as far as the interface. I don't know though, and I have to find out from the product manager if. Actually, it's English and French so far is what I have from the product manager. So. If we need to accommodate other languages, then let us know what languages that you might want, and I'll get that data to the product manager.
Okay, all right. I'm throwing questions at him. He doesn't know what what I'm going to ask him.
Totally fine.
And then does this work with Civil? Okay, does it? I'm sure you can. Does it work with Civil 3D?
This version, since it's written for Revit, no. But the AutoCAD version, Microsoft Office. Importer for AutoCAD does run and work within Civil 3D, right. Yeah.
Which would make sense, yeah. Of course, not this one, but
right. It's slightly different. There's some differences in how it handles the text size and a couple of other changes, but the main, split paste into columns, update based on changes in the source file, all that basic functionality that I showed you is the same.
Okay, yeah, I actually believe you guys are going to have another webinar for AutoCAD. That was the rumor. So
we just might.
We might. So do I need to do anything to prepare my imports for a submittal?
No, the files themselves, when you do the paste, the data is our Revit object. So it's either going to be by default in a sheet for Excel, it's going to be a standalone schedule. Or you have the option of pasting it as text notes and lines in a sheet. But Word and in a sheet is always going to be a detail group with text notes for each paragraph. And if there's table data, it's going to come in as lines. And then outside of a sheet, it's always going to be for Excel and Word detail groups with text notes and lines if there's table data. Now, that being the case, once you paste the data in, it's part of the Revit project file. So there's nothing that you need to do prep-wise in order to then do a submittal to your client. It's not, because if you're not giving them the source file, they don't have Microsoft Office Importer. It's not going to be linked back to the source files, so it's not going to be updated inadvertently or anything like that. They're going to see just exactly what you pasted into those files.
Okay, great. Will the tools displayed, and by the way, we're not going to be able to answer all, there's so many questions.
Okay.
But we'll hopefully try to get as many of them answered online for you.
Sure.
Will the tools display track changes? That's a good one. That's a tough one from Word.
Oh, actually no. It's what you see is what you get. So
that makes sense.
If you've got track changes in your Word file and you save the Word file, if those track changes aren't, in other words, if you don't have track changes on where it's showing those, then you won't see those when you copy and paste the data. Again, it's WYSIWYG, so it's what you see is what you get. And that's actually similar for Excel when it comes to formulas. You see the result of the formulas in an Excel cell, so it's going to be, again, what you see is what you get. You copy the cell and paste it, that's what you see. You don't see the formula behind it.
Okay, that makes complete sense. How about images within a Word file? Are they going to come across?
No images in Excel or Word.
I'm going to stop answering you the questions at the moment.
It's text or line-based data only.
Okay, all right. And I think that, how is the column width of the Word? I wrote some of these down.
That's fine.
How is the column width of the Word paste set? So how do you determine the column width?
Well, the column width is set based on what's copied to the clipboard. So the Windows clipboard has that data stored in it. Now, there is a feature in the program, one of the settings, where you can tell it to apply this particular width, and then it's 2 mouse clicks. First one to start the paste, and then it changes to where you can then move your cursor to the right, and you can say, this is how wide I want it to be. And then click again, and then it will paste the data. So you have a couple different options. One is there's a map feature in there's the map feature for one that I showed you, but you can also set a default scale factor to kind of adjust that. And you can also then use this 2-point method as well. So there's a couple different ways to accommodate that.
Okay, great. And I don't know if you're going to get a chance to see these questions. There's a lot of really nice compliments, and then
Awesome.
We have some people that are really happy that it comes in French. So we got people from all over the world.
Like
I know it's such a huge sign up for this webinar.
Very cool.
And we also have quite a few people asking if this is recorded. Like, I think they want to show management. And yes, it was recorded and they'll do a follow-up for you, so that if you want to watch the recorded version of this, there was a lot of information that happened really quickly. So you'll have the ability to either take that recording and show somebody else, or you can watch it again yourself. So on that note, I'm kind of still, you can tell these are live questions, because he did, some of the answers weren't clearly, they were surprises.
I'm going to add one thing.
So we're not faking our questions here. And
I'm going to add one thing.
Yeah, sure.
Which is related to that. So the video is one thing. Now, one thing that's common from demos that I do for this and other Axiom programs is one person will see a demo and then they want to show their bosses or other colleagues and stuff like that. So take advantage of what Paul said earlier, where if you want me to do a live demonstration for other associates or the powers that be at your particular company, just contact us and get that arranged. We'll get it on our schedule. Be happy to do so. That way I can answer specific questions related to your own particular workflow and your own scenarios. A lot of things that people run into are common, but often there's other things that we run into that are unique to your particular workflow.
Right.
So, this is Paul.
Paul, we can't hear you very well.
Okay.
There
You
you
got me
go.
now? Good.
Yep.
So I just wanted to speak to Frederick's point. We do have one heck of a awesome customer support team here at Axiom. You are actually, I believe every forward-facing member of our customer support team here at Axiom has been with us over 20 years. That's pretty darn strong. So when you call in, you are getting some very senior resources. If you need, after you purchase the software, if you need help, you can call in, most days of the year, and Axiom is here. You will be able to get somebody on the phone. They will help you virtually immediately, and we're pretty familiar with it. Also, our large clients, we spin up webinars and special training on a cadence for our Fortune-sized clients. We'll have like 250, 300 people on a webinar at a time where we do certain trainings for them. So we're glad to help you train your entire team. We're glad to help you train your management, or even your juniors if you don't want to do it. It's a fairly straightforward product. But often, sometimes, Axiom will show up right in the menu, in the menu bar, and it looks like a native piece of the software. And I think you're going to really love it. I hope we have an opportunity to engage with you. And I do want to thank everybody for attending today. We really value you and appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Okay. On that note, I think I'm looking up, trying to see if there's another golden question to ask you.
Okay.
Please hold. Please hold. I'm
I'm
going
holding.
through. I'm going through. I know Aaron said there was a good question. I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
And there's a lot of good questions, actually. One last fabulous one to end on.
Okay.
I think that we're just going to, unless Aaron, you want to pop up with that question. I can't find it.
The one I had in mind was from Richard. This one wasn't a question, but he said we answered his question that he was about to ask, and that he's going to present it to his management.
Never mind.
It was just a really good one,
Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right,
Yeah. Also,
never
another
mind.
one we got was metric. I don't know if we covered metric
We
or
did
not.
cover that
I know we
one.
covered French, but
we covered
metric
the
is also
French, we
supported
covered the
beautifully.
metric.
Awesome.
We said it's not in German.
Awesome. We had a request as well for other languages, like right to left languages, and we don't currently have support for that in this one, but we do support those in the AutoCAD and the MicroStation version of the tool, and we can support them in this one as well. So anybody that has these languages, Japanese, Hebrew, stuff like that, we can also do that. We just want to talk to folks that need it. We like to focus on the things that will really get used, and that's how we keep the software easy to use. Is just adding the really important stuff that will totally get used. So anybody that needs that kind of stuff, please reach out to us.
Okay, and in case you're wondering who the mystery voice is, that's Aaron. He's been behind the scenes answering your questions madly while we've been doing this presentation. So thank you so much, Aaron, for jumping in there. Appreciate that.
Oh, sure. I can barely keep up with the questions.
There's so many questions. I know. I couldn't believe it. And so many nice things that people are saying, which we appreciate all your very kind comments. So on that note, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that you enjoyed that demonstration. I think you can really see that this tool is really amazing. I know when I saw it, I went crazy because I have so many, as I mentioned to you earlier, so many people that have complained about the capabilities inside of vanilla Revit and wishing that it would be better. So these guys took matters into their own hands and they fixed it for themselves. So on that note, I want to thank you for your time. And do you have anything else to say, Paul or Frederick or anybody?
It was awesome. I'm glad everybody that signed up, for the ones that attended, I'm really glad they did. I hope it was a benefit to them, and then I hope down the road I can address them one-on-one if they need that, and I'd be happy to talk to them. That's all.
Great.
Frederick, it was a
He lives for
wonderful
it.
presentation. Yeah,
Yes, I do.
He
Thank you,
does. All
Frederick.
right. So the rest of you have a great rest of your day. Once again, thank you for your time, and maybe we'll see you next time on another Axiom webinar. Thank you so much.